Welcome to another chat on Happiness Now. I am Mansi, and with me are Narayani and Shurjo, the co-spiritual directors of Ananda Mumbai. Narayani, Shurjo, today let's address something very foundational. What is the ego? In lay terms, people think ego or ahamkara is arrogance. But it's not. It's much more than that. Can you break it down for all of us?
In order to fully understand the ego or ahankar, which you're right is very greatly misunderstood, we also have to kind of see the larger picture. And the way Yogananda explained it, he said there are 4 aspects to our consciousness, which is man, buddhi, ahankar, and chitta. This is based on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras as well, where he then describes yoga as yoga's chitta vritti nirodh. It's the neutralization of the chitta. And that's what yoga, the goal of meditation or yoga is. So man, buddhi, ahankar, chitta are kind of work together to create the totality of us, where ahankar is just a part of it. And he explains it beautifully in this little kind of comical way, in the form of, he says, the man, which is mind, is like a mirror. And it only reflects whatever it receives. It depends on the senses to receive. So it's like a mirror, and for example, he uses the example of a horse. There's a horse, and the mind, like a mirror, just reflects everything, just takes everything it can see, smell, know, shape, size, color, all of it. But it doesn't know what it's looking at. Then comes the buddhi, which is the intellect, which says that is a horse. It processes, it analyzes, it makes sense of what it is that the mind is receiving. Then comes the ego, the ahankar, which says that is my horse. Or it'll say that is not my horse. Or it'll say that is my friend's horse. Essentially what the ego is doing is it relates everything back to itself as the sole point of reference. But Yogananda said you're still not really caught up in delusion entirely yet, because it's okay to refer to the world in, from your point of view. But then comes in chitta. And chitta says how happy I am to have a horse. How unhappy I am that I don't have a horse. Oh no, my neighbor's horse is better than my horse. What it does is it divides the world into what it likes and what it dislikes, into what gives it joy and what doesn't, into what works and what doesn't. Essentially, chitta is the biased feelings of your heart. So ahankar is just playing that role here, as a role of your point of view. And then he goes on to define ahankar, ego, as the ego is simply the soul identified with the body.
I like to see the ego as energy going out. And that's not a problem. The problem comes, where do we send that energy? Outward and upwards, or outward and downwards? And that's where we need to start becoming responsible for that energy, to find ways to channel the ego in a very productive and beneficial way, because we need the ego on the spiritual path. We need that driving force to keep pulling us upward towards the light. So basically, what we need to learn is how to channel the energy from the ego, and only then we'll be able to accomplish what we set our mind to do. The energy that pulls you down are those attachments, desires, expectations that makes you bound on earth, makes you attached to your life, to what you think you are. And that energy that brings you upward is that energy, actions, thoughts that makes you free from this world. So we have always these 2 choices constantly are being given to us, whether we become bounded to this world or whether we become free from it. So you will need to decide, how can I use this energy, this action, to make me free from that attachment, or to keep indulging in it, behaving in the same way. Therefore, I keep, myself bound to this world and to its outward manifestation.
This is reminding me of something I've heard a lot. People talk about the phenomena of being in this world but not of it. Is that what it sort of means? That you can, I see you guys, you have a whole community around you, you're running a center. So you're very much in the world, but you don't seem to have any attachments or expectations. Can you like explain how this works?
Ahankar essentially means I am the doer. Main karta hoon. And so as long as you believe yourself to be the sole moving force in all your desires and all your actions and all the thoughts that you have, then, as Narayani said, they lead to greater and greater contraction, and therefore greater and greater bondage. And therefore, the more bound you are to anything, the more affected you are by it. Now it's going to either make you happy or sad. That's where chitta comes in, as a kind of an offshoot of ahankar. But the more expansive your view of life is, say for example, I think I own the entire universe. Now, in me owning the entire universe, what difference does it make if my car just got banged? What difference does it make if, somebody didn't particularly treat me the way that I liked? So that expansion, it takes a lot of energy first, the ego, to completely expand, to include absolutely everything. That's what it means. You're in the world, so the world's a big part of you, but you're not bound by the world anymore because you don't think of yourself as the sole doer. You've created a partnership with a greater power, and you are allowing, or at least trying to allow, that power to express itself more until that power becomes the only expression. And that's where the ego gets dissolved into that flow. It cannot be killed, it cannot be destroyed, it can't even be really ignored. Of its own accord, it says, I'm tired of being so limited. And it knows, it in itself knows, everybody in the world, no matter what their station is, somewhere deep down they say, there's more. I am more. We all believe we're greater than we are, in our minds somehow. But that's not a delusion, that's a truth. And it's when the ego awakens to that truth and says, I am more because there is so much more flowing through me. And that's what you get to experience, that state where a lot's happening, but none of it defines you.
Another good practice is not to take ourselves too seriously in anything that happens to us. The ego loves to be the center of attention. The ego loves to be recognized and acknowledged and to speak about the wonderful things that he does. So a way to transmute the ego is just not to take things so personally, a little bit more lightly, bring more sense of humor. In fact, see yourself, when you talk about yourself, in the third person. Oh, look at Mansi, what she did today. Well, Mansi, you didn't do so great today. Speak to him, detach yourself from who you think you are. Leave a little bit of a space, and you will see when things come to us, it's just not happening to you, it's happening to her, and therefore it won't affect you so personally and so intensely because, after 5 minutes, 1 day, 1 week, everything will go away. So why to, be upset or be sad or be disappointed, for a long period of time? Just don't waste that time and use it productively in something else.
Anything else you'd like to add?
One final thought that I think is both practical and just helpful is Yogananda said that these 4 aspects of our being that we talked about, they have physical correlations in the body. And for the ahankar, for the ego, that relation, that expression is right here at the base of our brain, at the back, where the spinal stem meets the brain, in a place called the medulla oblongata. And our medulla oblongata controls physically both our heartbeat and our breath. That's why in meditation, we're trying to achieve that breathless state so that the energy can be completely disassociated with that physical reality that controls and identifies with this body. So if you see and feel that the ego is starting to have a certain hold on you, you'll physically experience a lot of tension back here. In fact, Swami Kriyananda would jokingly say, that's why you have people who look down on the world through their noses, is because when there's tension, there's naturally this idea that your head moves up a little bit. And so whenever you feel that, even physically, when you're talking to somebody, just watch how what your chin and your neck does. And if you can just relax it forward even a little bit further so that the energy moves from the negative pole of the Agya chakra at the medulla to the positive pole at the point between the eyebrows, and you move the energy forward into that expansion, into a little bit more humility. And just that physical movement alone can also make a huge difference.
To further this, would you lead us into a meditation?
Close your eyes. Keep your spine straight. And bring your attention to the medulla oblongata at the base of your skull. And if there is any tension, any contraction, any block of energy in that area, breathe in, and as you exhale, visualize opening up that area, releasing any tension, any contraction. Twice more at your own rhythm. Inhale, and as you exhale, expel every sense of tightness, of blocked energy in that area. And now, very gently, invite that energy to flow upward to the point between the eyebrows. Gently, lovingly, visualize that flow of energy flowing freely without any obstacle. And allow it to stay at the point between the eyebrows for a few moments. Whenever you feel your whole energy has been harmonized within your body, slowly open your eyes and share that centeredness with everyone you meet.
Please stay in this stillness for as long as you like. We'll see you in our next chat whenever you're ready.